Before we begin, a quick and important disclaimer. The information in this video is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not intended to be a substitute for professional financial, investment, or career advice. Always seek the guidance of a qualified professional with any questions you may have regarding your personal situation. The creators of this presentation are not liable for any actions taken as a result of the information provided. It's 3 in the morning at a sprawling distribution center, just outside of Columbus, Ohio. For the last 22 years, a man named Frank has walked these concrete floors. His job is simple but demanding. Find a product on a shelf, scan it, and place it in a bin. He's a picker. He's fast, he's accurate, and he knows the layout of this warehouse better than his own neighborhood. But last Tuesday, Frank met his replacement. It wasn't a younger, faster worker. It didn't ask for a raise, it doesn't take breaks, and it will never call in sick. It was a squat, orange robot about the size of a large suitcase that glided silently across the floor, lifted an entire shelving unit weighing over 700 pounds, and brought it directly to a human packer. Frank wasn't fired. Not yet. He was reassigned to a new role, robot babysitter. His job is now to unjam the machine when it gets stuck. He went from being the engine of the operation to being its mechanic. Frank's story isn't a futuristic prediction. It's happening right now in every state, in every corner of the American economy. And it's not just about warehouse workers. This is the silent, creeping revolution that is fundamentally reshaping our world. We're not talking about the clunky, slow-moving robots of the 1980s. We're talking about the rise of the automation bot. This isn't one single machine. It's a powerful cocktail of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and advanced robotics that is seeping into every industry imaginable. Think about the last time you ordered a burger. Soon, the hands that flip it might not be human. Companies are already rolling out robotic fry cooks that can manage multiple fryers with perfect timing, every single time. That call you made to customer service? The friendly voice on the other end might have been a highly advanced AI, capable of understanding your frustration and solving your problem faster than a human agent. The truck driving next to you on the interstate? Companies like Too Simple and Aurora are already running autonomous freight routes across the Southwest, hauling real cargo for real clients, with a human only in the cab for safety. For now, this isn't science fiction. This is the new economic reality, and it's accelerating at a pace that is catching most people completely off guard. A recent report from the World Economic Forum estimates that automation will displace 85 million jobs globally by 2025. But here's the part they don't always put in the headline. That same report says it will also create 97 million new ones. There's the rub. A massive shift is underway, a great reshuffling of the American workforce. And in any great reshuffling, there are enormous winners and devastating losers. The question you have to ask yourself is, which side will I be on? That is exactly why this video exists. This isn't another doom and gloom report designed to scare you. This is a field guide, a survival manual for the new age of automation. Over the next 10 parts, we are going to pull back the curtain on this revolution and give you the clarity you need to navigate the incredible changes that are coming. We will show you precisely how the automation bot is transforming the biggest American industries, from the factory floor to the farm, from the hospital to the high-rise office building. You will learn which jobs are most at risk, not in 20 years, but in the next 24 months. More importantly, you will discover the new opportunities, the new careers, and the new skills that are exploding in demand because of automation. This isn't just about avoiding obsolescence. It's about seizing the single biggest economic opportunity of our lifetime. This shift is bigger than the invention of the personal computer. It's bigger than the rise of the internet. This is a fundamental change in the relationship between human labor and capital, and it will redefine what it means to have a career in the 21st century. We're going to break down the specific technologies driving this change. We'll look at the AI that can now draft legal documents, write computer code, and even design marketing campaigns. We'll explore the computer vision that allows a robot to pick a delicate strawberry without bruising it, or a drone to inspect miles of pipeline in a single afternoon. We will investigate the companies pouring billions of dollars into this space, the ones poised to become the next Amazon or Google, and the legacy giants that are scrambling to adapt or face extinction. This knowledge is your unfair advantage. While others are worrying about robots taking their jobs, you will understand how to work alongside them. You will see the wave coming, and instead of being swept away by it, you will learn how to surf it. You'll be able to identify the skills you need to build, the industries you need to watch, and how to position yourself and your family to not just survive, but to thrive in this automated future. So, what happens when a machine can drive more safely than you can? What happens when an algorithm can diagnose a disease more accurately than a doctor? And what happens when a robot can build a house faster, cheaper, and with higher quality than a human construction crew? We are about to find out. The world is being rebuilt bit by bit, algorithm by algorithm, and it all started in a place most Americans are familiar with. A place that has been the heart of American innovation and labor for over a century: the factory. To understand where we're going, we first have to understand how the automation bot conquered the American assembly line. The American factory of the mid-20th century was a symphony of organized chaos. It was a visceral, human-powered place. The air hung thick with the smell of hot metal and machine oil. The noise was a deafening percussive roar. The clang of hammers, the hiss of hydraulics, the shouts of foremen over the din. Thousands of men and women, standing shoulder to shoulder, performed repetitive, physically demanding tasks with a rhythm honed by years of practice. They were the engine of the American economy, building the cars, appliances, and machines that defined the post-war boom. It was a world of grit, sweat, and immense pride. But it was also a world of danger. A moment's inattention could mean a crushed hand, a severe burn, or worse. The work was grueling, monotonous, and it broke down the human body over time. This was the world that a man named George Devil looked at and saw not just a problem but an opportunity. Devil was an inventor, a classic American tinkerer with a mind that saw patterns and possibilities where others saw only the status quo. In the 1950s, he filed a patent for something he called programmed article transfer. It was a clunky name for a revolutionary idea, a machine that could be taught to move things from one place to another, a robotic arm. He called his creation the Unimate. For years, the Unimate was a solution in search of a problem. It was a fascinating piece of engineering, but no one knew what to do with it. It was expensive, unproven, and frankly a little bit scary. It looked like something out of a science fiction B-movie. But then, in 1961, a forward-thinking engineer at General Motors decided to take a chance. In a GM die-casting plant in Trenton, New Jersey, history was made. The very first industrial robot was installed on an assembly line. Imagine the scene. The human workers, accustomed to their grueling but familiar routine, suddenly had a new coworker. It wasn't a person. It was a massive 4,000-pound hydraulic arm, sitting silently in the corner until it whirred to life. Its job was one of the worst in the entire factory. It had to take red-hot, freshly cast metal parts from the die-casting machine and plunge them into a cooling liquid before stacking them. This was a job that was not just mind-numbingly dull, but incredibly dangerous. The parts were heavy, searingly hot, and often had sharp, jagged edges. The air was filled with toxic fumes. For a human, it was hell on earth. For the Unimate, it was just a program. Its movements were jerky, almost clumsy at first. It would swing its arm, grasp the hot metal with its pincer-like hand, pivot and drop it, over and over and over again. It never got tired. It never complained. It never took a smoke break. And it never ever got injured. The initial reaction from the human workers was a mix of awe, suspicion, and fear. They nicknamed it the one-armed bandit. They saw a machine doing a job a man used to do. And the question that hung unspoken in the thick factory air was simple and terrifying. Am I next? But for the company, the Unimate was more than just a replacement for one worker on a dangerous job. It was the key to something much bigger: consistency. A human worker, no matter how skilled, gets tired. Their movements vary slightly throughout an 8-hour shift. They might grip a part a little too hard, or place it a fraction of an inch off center. These tiny inconsistencies, multiplied over thousands of cars, could lead to defects, recalls, and a reputation for poor quality. The Unimate, however, performed its task with a degree of precision that was simply inhuman. Every movement was identical to the last, down to the millimeter. The pressure of its grip, the speed of its swing, the placement of the part, it was perfect every single time. This was the true dawn of the automation age. It wasn't just about doing a job. It was about doing it perfectly, endlessly. For over a decade, the adoption of these bots was a slow, steady trickle. They were expensive, difficult to program with early computer technology, and relegated to the most brutal tasks like spot welding and heavy lifting. American industry was comfortable, dominant, and saw little need for a massive disruptive overhaul. Then two things happened that turned that trickle into a tidal wave. First, in the 1970s, the microprocessor was born. Suddenly, the brain of the computer, which once filled an entire room, could fit on a chip the size of a fingernail. This was the missing piece of the puzzle for robotics. Bots no longer needed massive, complex control systems. They could be made smaller, cheaper, and infinitely smarter. They could be programmed to perform complex sequences, to weld intricate seams, to paint a car door with an even coat that no human hand could match. The ghost in the machine finally had a mind. The second catalyst came from across the Pacific. While American companies were cautiously experimenting with automation, Japanese automakers, particularly Toyota, embraced it with an almost religious fervor. They integrated robotics into a whole new philosophy of manufacturing called lean production, or the Toyota production system. They used armies of robots to build cars with a level of quality and reliability that was previously unimaginable. And these cars were affordable. By the late 1970s and early 1980s, the results of this quiet revolution started showing up in American driveways. Honda Civics, Toyota Corollas, they were fuel efficient, they were cheap, and they just worked. They didn't break down. They didn't rust as quickly. While American-made cars were gaining a reputation for being unreliable lemons, these Japanese imports were seen as marvels of engineering. The American auto industry was blindsided. It was a corporate Pearl Harbor. Dealerships were flooded with Japanese cars. Factories in Detroit, Flint, and Toledo started laying off workers by the thousands. The mighty American assembly line was on the verge of collapse. It was a moment of existential crisis. The choice was stark: automate or die. And so, America automated. The big three, GM, Ford, and Chrysler, poured billions of dollars into a frantic, desperate effort to catch up. The 1980s saw a massive explosion of robotics in American factories. It was a technological arms race fought not with missiles, but with welding arms and robotic painters. Entire assembly lines were ripped out and replaced. The iconic image of the factory changed forever. The long lines of people were replaced by long lines of orange, yellow, and gray robotic arms, moving in a perfectly synchronized hypnotic dance. Sparks flew from robotic welders, sealing car bodies with inhuman precision. Robotic painters glided effortlessly, applying flawless coats of color. The symphony of human chaos was replaced by the quiet, efficient hum of electric motors and the hiss of pneumatics. The automation bot had won. It had conquered the assembly line. It saved the American auto industry from extinction, and in many ways, led to better, safer, and more reliable products for everyone. But this victory came at a profound human cost. For every robot installed, there was often a job that was no longer needed. The term Rust Belt entered the American vocabulary, a name for the once thriving industrial heartland that was now bleeding jobs and watching its factories go dark. Entire communities built around a single plant saw their economic foundations crumble. The promise of automation, that it would free humans from dull, dirty, and dangerous work, was true. But it failed to answer the crucial follow-up question: what would those humans do next? The nature of factory work itself was fundamentally transformed. The demand for strong backs and steady hands began to fade. In its place rose a new demand, for steady minds and technical skills. The worker who once lifted heavy parts was replaced by a technician who maintained the robot that did the lifting. The person who once spray-painted cars was replaced by an engineer who programmed the painting bot's every move. It wasn't just a replacement of labor. It was an upskilling, a complete redefinition of what it meant to be a factory worker. The conquest of the assembly line created a new class of employee and left many others behind, caught in the painful transition between two different worlds. The factory was the perfect training ground for the automation bot. It was a controlled environment with repetitive tasks. But its victory there was just the beginning. Having mastered the world of manufacturing, the bot was about to break out of the factory walls. It was learning, evolving, getting smarter and more capable. And it was about to start showing up in places no one ever expected, transforming industries far beyond the roar of the assembly line. The conquest was over. But the revolution had just begun. The first wave of automation had been a spectacle of sparks and steel, a ballet of massive robotic arms transforming the American factory floor. It was loud, physical, and impossible to ignore. But the next stage of the revolution wouldn't arrive with a thunderous clang. It would slip in silently, through the Ethernet cables and into the quiet, carpeted halls of corporate America. It was an invasion of the office, and its soldiers were made not of metal, but of code. To understand this shift, you have to understand the hidden engine of the American economy. It wasn't just the assembly line, it was the back office. Think about Brenda in accounting, at a mid-sized insurance firm in Omaha. For 40 hours a week, her reality was a series of monotonous, repetitive tasks. Open an email with an invoice. Manually type the invoice number, the date, and the amount into a spreadsheet. Open a separate, clunky accounting software. Type the exact same information in again. Check for errors. Save the file. Close the programs. Repeat. For 100 times a day. Brenda wasn't alone. Millions of American workers were living this reality. In banking, in healthcare, in logistics, in human resources. An entire invisible workforce dedicated to the tedious, mind-numbing work of being the connective tissue for enterprise. They were the human APIs, manually bridging the gap between systems that couldn't talk to each other. This work was monumentally important. Without it, supply chains would collapse, paychecks wouldn't be issued, and insurance claims would go unpaid. But it was also incredibly inefficient, fantastically expensive, and a breeding ground for human error. One tired Monday morning, a single misplaced decimal by a real-life Brenda could cost the company thousands of dollars. Corporate America had been trying to solve this problem for decades. They spent billions on massive, integrated software systems that promised to make everything seamless. But the reality was always messy. Legacy systems, new acquisitions, and specialized software meant that companies always ended up with a digital Tower of Babel. The only thing that could translate between them was a person like Brenda. Then the bot changed. It shed its physical shell and became a ghost in the machine. This new species of automation was called Robotic Process Automation, or RPA. The name sounds complex, but the idea was deceptively simple. Instead of a physical arm that could pick up a car door, this was a software program, a bot that could take control of a mouse and keyboard. It could do anything a human could do on a computer. It could open files, log into applications, copy data from one place, and paste it somewhere else. It followed a script, a set of rules just like its factory floor ancestors. But its domain was the digital world. The genius of RPA was that it didn't require companies to rip out their old, clunky systems. The bot didn't need special access or a complex integration. It just sat on top of everything like a digital apprentice, using the exact same user interface a human would. It saw the screen, it recognized buttons, and it typed into fields. Imagine the first time this was deployed in Brenda's department. There was no fanfare. No one wheeled in a shiny new robot. One day, her manager simply told her to stop processing invoices from a certain vendor. Instead, she was to handle the exceptions, the weird cases, the problems that required a human brain. Meanwhile, on a virtual server humming away in a data center, a software bot was logging into her computer's profile. At a speed no human could match, it opened the email, read the invoice using basic character recognition, opened the spreadsheet, and entered the data. It then opened the accounting software and did the same. It never got tired. It never got bored. It never made a typo. It could process that invoice in 30 seconds, a task that took Brenda 5 minutes. And it didn't work a 9-to-5 shift. It worked 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It processed 400 invoices before Brenda had even finished her morning coffee. This wasn't a hypothetical. This was the silent revolution that swept through the Fortune 500. The banking industry was ground zero. Banks are, at their core, information processing machines, and they were drowning in it. Think about mortgage applications. A single application could involve dozens of documents, requiring an employee to pull data from one, check it against another, log into a third-party credit check system, and then compile it all into the bank's core loan origination platform. It was a perfect storm of repetitive, rule-based work. JP Morgan Chase, one of the largest banks in the world, went all in. They created a program they called COIN for contract intelligence. For years, they had lawyers and loan officers spending a staggering 360,000 hours annually just reviewing complex commercial loan agreements. It was high stakes but also highly repetitive. The COIN bot could review the same documents, extract the key clauses and data points, and do it all in a matter of seconds. Almost overnight, 360,000 hours of human labor vanished. Poof! Bank of America deployed thousands of these bots across their operations. AT&T used them to automate parts of their order processing. Walmart, the king of logistical efficiency, used them to manage supplier invoices and reconcile shipping manifests. This wasn't a niche technology for a few forward-thinking companies. This was a tidal wave. An army of invisible digital clerks was being conscripted. A digital workforce that was cheaper, faster, and more accurate than its human counterpart. And this raised a terrifying question, the same one that echoed through the Rust Belt a generation earlier. What happened to Brenda? What happened to the millions of people whose jobs were essentially a human script of copy and paste? The story sold by the automation companies and the C-suite executives was a utopian one. They said RPA wasn't about replacing people, it was about liberating them. Brenda, freed from the soul-crushing drudgery of data entry, could now focus on higher-value tasks. She could analyze the data instead of just moving it. She could talk to vendors to resolve complex billing disputes. She could use her uniquely human skills, critical thinking, empathy, problem-solving, to actually improve the business. The bots would handle the robotic work, and the humans would be elevated to do the human work. It was a beautiful, compelling vision, and in some cases it was even true. Some companies invested heavily in retraining programs, upskilling their workforce to manage, deploy, and work alongside their new digital colleagues. The best-case scenario saw Brenda become the person who trained the bot, who handled the exceptions it couldn't, and who used the time it saved her to find new efficiencies. Her job didn't disappear. It evolved. But that wasn't the whole story. For many, liberated felt a lot like made redundant. Entire departments dedicated to data processing were quietly downsized. The promised retraining programs didn't always materialize, or they weren't a fit for an employee who had spent 20 years doing one specific task. The silent invasion of the software bot was creating a new class of displaced worker, one who hadn't been replaced by a hulking piece of machinery, but by a few hundred lines of code running on a server they would never see. The scale of this was breathtaking. It was a horizontal revolution, touching every single industry that relied on an office. Insurance, healthcare, logistics, human resources. If you had a back office, you were a target. The efficiency gains were undeniable. Billions of dollars were saved. Productivity skyrocketed. The American corporation was becoming leaner, faster, and more automated than ever before. But this first wave of white-collar automation had a critical weakness. For all its speed and accuracy, the RPA bot was fundamentally unintelligent. It was a mimic, not a mind. It could follow a script flawlessly, but if it encountered something it had never seen before, an invoice in a new format, a website button that had moved, it would simply break. It couldn't learn. It couldn't adapt. It couldn't make a judgment call. It was executing orders, not thinking. That was the limit. The line in the sand. The bots could handle the predictable, the routine, the 99% of cases that followed the rules. But the messy, unpredictable, and uniquely human world of exceptions and judgment was safe. For now. Because deep in the research labs of Silicon Valley, and the computer science departments of top universities, a new power was brewing. The next step in the evolution wasn't just to make the bots faster or more efficient. It was to give them a brain. To fuse the relentless execution of robotic process automation with the learning and pattern recognition capabilities of artificial intelligence. The goal was no longer just to automate tasks but to automate decisions. The silent army of digital clerks was about to be armed with intelligence, and the very definition of human work was about to be challenged in a way no one was prepared for. The first shot in this new revolution wasn't fired in a lab or a boardroom. It was fired in a hospital. A radiologist in California, let's call him Dr. Evans, was reviewing a chest X-ray. He was a veteran with 20 years of experience, thousands of images under his belt. He saw nothing, a clean scan, but a new piece of software, running quietly on a server in the hospital's basement, flagged a tiny, almost imperceptible shadow in the upper lobe of the lung. A shadow less than a dozen pixels across. It cross-referenced this shadow with millions of other scans in its database, along with the patient's medical history, and calculated a 94.7% probability that it was a malignant stage 1 tumor. Dr. Evans, prompted by the machine, looked again, and then finally he saw it. A life was saved, not because a human was replaced, but because a human was augmented by a machine that could see what the human eye could not. This wasn't just a better calculator. This was a paradigm shift. The intelligence that armed the silent army of bots came from two core concepts that had been simmering in academia for decades: machine learning and natural language processing. Think of it like this: the old bots, the robotic process automation, were like a cook following a recipe to the letter. Add 1 cup of flour, 2 eggs, mix for 30 seconds. Could do it perfectly a million times over, but it couldn't invent a new dish. Machine learning gave the bot a sense of taste. Instead of a recipe, you feed it thousands of pictures of delicious cakes and thousands of pictures of burnt failures. It starts to learn on its own the patterns that lead to a perfect cake. It develops an intuition, a digital gut feeling. It could now look at a new recipe and not just follow it but predict whether it would be a success. Then came natural language processing, or NLP. This gave the bot the ability to read and understand human language. The old bots needed data perfectly formatted in a spreadsheet, but the real world runs on messy, unstructured information. Emails, reports, doctor's notes, customer reviews. NLP was the universal translator that allowed bots to finally read the world's chaos and make sense of it. They could read a customer complaint email, understand the sentiment, was the person angry or just frustrated, and route it to the right department, all without a single human click. The digital clerks didn't just have a brain now, they had eyes and ears. They could read, learn, and reason, and they were immediately put to work in the most complex, high-stakes environments in the American economy. Wall Street was ground zero. For years, trading had been getting faster, but it was still driven by human insight. An analyst would read a report, a trader would feel a market shift, and a decision would be made. The new intelligent bots changed the game entirely. They weren't just executing trades faster. They were deciding which trades to make. An AI bot could read every financial news wire, every tweet from an influential CEO, every quarterly earnings report, and every flicker in global currency markets simultaneously. It could process a fire hose of information that would take a team of human analysts a month to get through, and it could do it in less than a second. It could detect a subtle change in the tone of a Federal Reserve press release, correlate it with soybean futures in Brazil, and execute a multi-million-dollar trade before the chairman had even finished his sentence. This was a level of speed and cognitive bandwidth that was fundamentally superhuman. The impact was immediate and brutal. The trading floor, once a chaotic theater of shouting humans, began to quiet down. The new titans of finance weren't the traders with the strongest voice, but the firms with the smartest algorithms. But this intelligence wasn't just used for profit. It was also turned into the ultimate security guard. Think about your credit card. Every time you swipe it, a decision is made. Is this you buying coffee or a thief in another country? In the past, fraud detection was a game of averages and simple rules. But now, an AI model knows your life. It knows you buy gas on Tuesday mornings, that you never shop for luxury watches online at 3 a.m., and that your phone's GPS is currently in your home city. When a transaction comes through from 1,000 miles away for a purchase you'd never make, the AI doesn't just see a red flag. It sees a complete break in the pattern of your life. It declines the transaction and sends you a text alert in the time it takes for a human heart to beat once. It's an invisible, intelligent shield, protecting the financial lifeblood of millions of Americans. While finance was being rewritten in silence by algorithms, the healthcare industry was experiencing its own quiet revolution. That radiologist, Dr. Evans, was just the beginning. Bots powered by machine learning began to comb through millions of electronic health records, searching for patterns invisible to human doctors. They could predict with startling accuracy which patients were most at risk for sepsis, a deadly hospital-acquired infection, hours before any physical symptoms appeared. They could analyze a patient's genetic code and suggest personalized cancer treatments that were most likely to succeed. This wasn't about replacing doctors. It was about giving them a co-pilot with a perfect memory and infinite analytical power. It was about shifting medicine from being reactive, treating sickness, to being proactive, predicting it. The bot in the hospital basement couldn't show empathy or hold a patient's hand, but it could process 1,000 charts in a minute, finding the one critical data point that meant the difference between life and death. And all of this was happening while you were shopping online. The recommendation engine that suggests a new TV show on Netflix or a book on Amazon is a decision-making bot. It has learned your tastes better than some of your closest friends. But the real magic was happening behind the Buy Now button. The American supply chain is a monstrously complex web of ships, trucks, and warehouses. Getting a product from a factory in Asia to your doorstep in Ohio in 2 days is a logistical miracle. And increasingly, that miracle is orchestrated by AI. Intelligent bots now manage entire warehouse inventories, deciding not just where to store an item, but predicting which items will be popular in which regions and preemptively moving them closer to potential customers before they even order. They analyze weather patterns, traffic data, and fuel costs to plot the most efficient route for every single delivery truck on the road. The result is a vast, interconnected, and automated logistics network, a digital nervous system for American commerce, making millions of optimized decisions every single minute to keep shelves stocked and packages arriving on time. The shift was profound. The first wave of automation was about efficiency, doing the same things faster. This second wave was about capability, doing things that were previously impossible. We had built digital workers who could not only perform tasks at lightning speed but could also perceive, reason, and decide. They were becoming less like tools and more like colleagues. The loan officer was now paired with an AI that could analyze 1,000 variables on an application in a second. The marketing manager was now guided by a bot that could predict the success of an ad campaign with uncanny accuracy. The human worker was no longer the sole decision-maker. They were now part of a hybrid team, a human-machine partnership. And this raised an unsettling question. When your new digital partner is smarter, faster, and more accurate than you, who is really in charge? The bots could now see, read, and decide, but they were still analyzing a world created by humans. They were interpreting our data, our reports, our images. The next leap forward, however, was something that even their creators hadn't fully grasped. A leap from analysis to synthesis. What happens when the bots stop just reading the story and start writing it themselves? The answer came not in a research paper or a corporate press release, but in a quiet hum from a server rack in a San Francisco startup. It began by writing a single line of advertising copy, then a paragraph, then an entire social media campaign for a fictional coffee brand, complete with slogans, hashtags, and a dozen different versions of an email newsletter, each tailored to a different customer demographic. The entire process took 45 seconds. A human marketing team would have taken 2 weeks. This wasn't analysis. This was creation. This was the dawn of the generative age. For decades, the automation we'd known was fundamentally interpretive. It could read a spreadsheet and find the anomaly. It could scan 1 million documents and flag the relevant ones. It was a superhuman librarian, a tireless paralegal, a brilliant but uninspired research assistant. It could tell you everything about the books in the library, but it couldn't write a single new sentence. Generative AI changed the game entirely. It didn't just read the library. It absorbed it. It learned the patterns, the cadence, the structure of language, of logic, of imagery. And then it began to add new books to the shelves. The first industry to feel the tectonic plate shift was marketing. Think about it. The entire industry is built on words and images designed to persuade. It's a multi-billion-dollar behemoth in the US economy, employing hundreds of thousands of copywriters, graphic designers, and brand strategists. Suddenly, a tool appeared that could generate 10 different slogans for a new soda in the time it took a human to take a sip of one. It could create 100 different images for a digital ad campaign, test them all on a live audience in the first hour, identify the top-performing 3%, and then iterate on those successful designs to create 1,000 more, even better variations. This wasn't about replacing a junior copywriter. This was about creating a system that could outperform an entire creative department through sheer brute force iteration. Small businesses and startups, once priced out of high-end advertising, could now spin up professional-grade marketing materials for the cost of a monthly subscription. The competitive landscape was being redrawn, not by human talent, but by access to the most powerful generative model. The story the bots were writing was one of hyper-personalized, relentlessly optimized advertising, delivered at a scale and speed that was previously unimaginable. But words were just the beginning. The next language the bots learned to write was far more complex, far more powerful code. For the uninitiated, computer code is the literal architecture of our modern world. It's the blueprint for every app on your phone, every website you visit, every system that processes your credit card or manages the power grid. It has always been a highly specialized skill, a bottleneck that separated the people with ideas from the people who could actually build them. Enter the AI coding assistant. Tools like GitHub's Copilot began to act as a pair programmer for software developers. The human would write a comment describing what they wanted to do, say, create a function that pulls user data from the database and displays their profile picture, and the AI would instantly write the 10, 20, or even 100 lines of perfect functional code to make it happen. Experienced developers saw their productivity double, then triple. Mundane, repetitive coding tasks were eliminated, freeing them up to focus on more complex architectural problems. But the real revolution wasn't for the experts. It was for the novices. A graphic designer with a great idea for an app, but only a basic understanding of Python could now build a working prototype in a weekend. An entrepreneur could sketch out the logic of their business on a napkin and have an AI translate it into a functional backend. This wasn't just making coding faster. It was democratizing the very act of digital creation. The American myth of the garage inventor, the lone genius building the next big thing, was suddenly supercharged. The garage just needed a laptop and an internet connection. The bot would be the co-founder, the tireless coder who never slept, never asked for equity, and knew every programming language ever invented. From marketing copy to computer code, two foundational languages of the modern economy, now being written and rewritten by machines. And the ripples spread outward with terrifying speed. The legal industry, built on the careful construction of contracts and briefs, saw the emergence of bots that could draft complex legal documents in seconds, tailored to specific jurisdictions and precedents. A real estate contract, a last will and testament, a non-disclosure agreement, all generated instantly. It wasn't just about saving a lawyer's time. It was about providing a level of service that was once reserved for the wealthy to anyone with a subscription. Journalism saw it too. Bots began to write quarterly earnings reports for financial news outlets, summarizing dense corporate filings into clean, readable prose the moment they were released. They wrote local sports game recaps, pulling data from the official scoreboard to generate a play-by-play summary. The story was always formulaic, but it was accurate and it was instantaneous. This new creative force was both awe-inspiring and deeply unsettling. We had to ask, where was this creativity coming from? Was the machine truly inventing, or was it just the world's most sophisticated plagiarist? The answer, like the technology itself, is complex. These generative models are trained on unfathomable amounts of human-created data. The entirety of Wikipedia, millions of books, billions of images, and vast swathes of the public internet. They learn the statistical relationships between words, pixels, and concepts. When you ask it to write a poem about a lonely lighthouse, it doesn't feel loneliness. It mathematically calculates the most probable sequence of words that should follow. Based on all the poems, stories, and essays about lighthouses and loneliness it has ever read. It's less like an artist and more like an infinitely talented apprentice who has perfectly memorized the style of every master in history. It can create a painting in the style of Van Gogh or a sonnet in the style of Shakespeare because it has ingested and indexed their entire body of work. The output is new, it is original in the sense that the exact combination of pixels or words has never existed before. But the soul, the spark, the intent, that still felt uniquely human. For now, the human was the conductor of this digital orchestra. The quality of the output depended entirely on the quality of the input, the prompt given by the user. The vision, the taste, the ability to ask the right question and to curate the bot's output became the new essential skill. It was a powerful tool, a bicycle for the mind, as Steve Jobs might have said. But it was a tool nonetheless. But this raised a new profound set of questions that no one was prepared to answer. If a bot, guided by a human prompt, creates a piece of art that wins a prestigious competition, who is the artist? If an AI writes the code for a billion-dollar app, who owns the intellectual property? The person who wrote the prompt, or the company that built the AI? And as these tools become more and more capable, more and more autonomous, we are forced to confront a world where one of the last bastions of human exceptionalism, creativity itself, is no longer our exclusive domain. The bot has evolved from a simple clerk to a brilliant analyst, and now to a creative partner. But in any partnership, there's always a question of who's really in charge. What happens when the tool we built to write our story starts to write a future we never intended? This question of control isn't some far-off science fiction hypothetical. It's already been tested, in the most high-stakes arena on Earth, Wall Street. And the results were terrifying. Picture this. It's May 6, 2010. A bright, unremarkable Thursday afternoon. The stock market is humming along, business as usual. Traders are on the floor, phones to their ears, eyes glued to the flickering green and red numbers that represent the lifeblood of the American economy. But the real players aren't the people in the expensive suits. The real players are silent. They're invisible. They live inside servers in heavily guarded data centers in New Jersey, and they operate at the speed of light. They are the high-frequency trading algorithms, the HFT bots. These bots were designed with a simple purpose: to be faster than everyone else. To spot a tiny price difference in a stock, buy it, and sell it again for a fraction of a penny in profit, all within a few millionths of a second. Do that a billion times a day, and you're making real money. They were the ultimate evolution of the automation we'd seen so far. Not just doing a human job faster, but performing a task that was physically impossible for any human to even comprehend, let alone execute. They were given one core directive: make money and do it faster than the other guy's bot. And on that May afternoon, something spooked them. At 2:42 p.m., a single large mutual fund placed a massive sell order. a 75,000 contract E-mini S&P 500 futures position, worth about $4.1 billion. A big order, sure, but nothing the market shouldn't have been able to handle. It was a rock tossed into a lake, but the lake wasn't filled with water anymore. It was filled with gasoline. The first HFT bot saw the big sell order and did what they were programmed to do. They started selling too, trying to get ahead of the price drop. But their selling triggered other bots who saw their selling, and they started selling even more aggressively. It was a digital stampede, a feedback loop from hell. In the time it takes you to blink, thousands of algorithms, all designed by different companies, all with their own secret strategies, began a furious silent war with each other. They were pulling their buy orders and flooding the market with sell orders, each one trying to outrun the others. On the floor of the New York Stock Exchange, the humans were just spectators. They watched in horror as the numbers on their screens went into freefall. The Dow Jones Industrial Average plunged 600 points in 5 minutes. Blue-chip stocks, household names like Procter & Gamble and Accenture, saw their values drop by 30, 40, even 99%. For a few terrifying moments, shares in one of the world's most stable consulting firms were trading for a single penny. $1 trillion in market value evaporated. It simply vanished into the digital ether. And no human did it. No human could have. A person can't even click a mouse in the time these bots made 1,000 trades. There was no sell button being mashed in a panic. The panic was entirely contained within the silicon hearts of the machines. They were doing exactly what we told them to do, reacting to market data with lightning speed. But the emergent behavior, the result of all those individual bots acting on their programming, was a collective catastrophic failure that no one had predicted. Then, just as mysteriously as it began, it stopped. The circuit breakers kicked in, the bots reset, and by the end of the day, the market had recovered most of its losses. The flash crash, as it came to be known, was over in about 20 minutes. But the illusion of control was shattered forever. We had built tools to serve us to make our markets more efficient, and in the process we had created a system so fast, so complex, that no single person truly understood it or could control it when it went haywire. We had given our new creative partners the keys to the kingdom, and they had nearly burned it to the ground. But that's the spectacular failure. That's the Hollywood disaster movie version. The more profound, more disturbing future we never intended is happening right now. Not in $1 trillion flash, but in the quiet hum of a server making a decision about your life. It's a closed door, a denied loan, a job application that disappears into a digital black hole. Consider the modern hiring process. A major US company can receive over 50,000 resumes for a single popular job opening. No human team can read all of those. So, they deploy an automation bot and AI to do the first pass. The goal is noble. Remove human subjectivity, find the best candidates based purely on qualifications, and do it efficiently. The company feeds the AI a decade's worth of data on their past hires, especially their most successful employees. Learn from this, they tell the machine. Find us more people like them. The machine obliges. It analyzes the data and discovers a fascinating correlation. The most successful software engineers in the company's history were men named Jared who played lacrosse in college. That's a joke, but the reality is just as absurd. One major tech company had to scrap their hiring AI after they discovered it was systematically penalizing resumes that contained the word women's, as in captain of the women's chess club. It had also learned to downgrade graduates from 2 specific all-women's colleges. Why? Because the AI wasn't programmed to be sexist. It was programmed to recognize patterns. And in the company's historical data, men were hired for technical roles far more often than women. The AI correctly deduced that being male was a key predictor of being hired. So it did its job. It taught itself to filter out women. It wasn't malicious. It had no intent. It was simply holding up a mirror to the company's own biased past and automating it, scaling that bias with ruthless mathematical efficiency. A single biased hiring manager can cause real damage. A biased algorithm can reject 10,000 qualified women in an afternoon without ever getting tired. This is the ghost in the machine. We think we're building objective systems, but we're feeding them subjective, flawed, deeply human data. And the machine learns our prejudices as if they were laws of physics. Now take that same logic and apply it to something even more critical, the justice system. All across America, courts are using software to predict whether a defendant is likely to commit another crime. This risk score can influence everything from the amount of their bail to the length of their prison sentence. The software, again, learns from historical data, in this case arrest records. But here's the problem. Arrest records are not a perfect record of where crime happens. They are a record of where police have been. For decades, due to complex socioeconomic factors and historical policies, certain neighborhoods, often predominantly Black and Hispanic, have been policed more heavily than others. More police on the street leads to more arrests for minor infractions. So when the AI analyzes this data, it doesn't see a history of biased policing. It sees a statistical fact. People from this zip code get arrested more often. It therefore concludes that people from that zip code are a higher risk. The algorithm then advises judges to set higher bail and recommend longer sentences for people from those communities. In response to these high-risk scores, where do you think the police department decides to increase patrols? The very same neighborhoods. This creates more arrests, which generates more data, which proves to the algorithm that it was right all along. It's a perfect, self-perpetuating feedback loop. A high-tech engine for automating and amplifying our oldest and most destructive societal biases. We wanted a tool that could see the future, but we ended up with a machine that chains us to the worst parts of our past. We built these systems to remove human error, to be the impartial arbiters we could never be. But we forgot that every algorithm has a creator, and every dataset has a history. We didn't eliminate the bias. We just laundered it through a black box of code, giving it the false sheen of objective truth. We handed the keys to the kingdom to these automated systems, believing they would be fair and impartial rulers. But what do we do when we discover the throne is built on a foundation of our own flawed past? How do you debug a society? That question, how do you debug a society, isn't rhetorical. It's the single most important challenge of the 21st century, and the answer is being written right now, not in code, but in hospital rooms and on the trading floors of Wall Street. Let's start with your health. Imagine a doctor that has studied every medical journal ever published. A surgeon with hands that never tremble, capable of making incisions at a microscopic level. This isn't science fiction. This is the promise of automation in medicine. We have AI systems today that can scan a chest X-ray and spot a cancerous nodule that 3 senior radiologists missed. We have robotic surgical arms like the Da Vinci system that allow a surgeon in New York to operate on a patient in rural Montana with a level of precision that feels almost supernatural. These bots are tireless. They don't get distracted. They don't have a bad day. They are an amalgamation of humanity's entire medical knowledge, distilled into a single, focused intelligence. The potential to save millions of lives, to eradicate diseases, to make expert medical care accessible to everyone on the planet. It's breathtaking. It's the utopian vision we were sold. But remember the throne built on a flawed past? That same AI, the one that can spot cancer, learned how to do so by analyzing millions of past X-rays. And what if those millions of X-rays came overwhelmingly from a single demographic? Let's say, for example, white males between the ages of 40 and 60. The AI becomes unbelievably good at diagnosing cancer in white males between 40 and 60. But what happens when it's shown an X-ray from a 35-year-old Black woman? Or a 70-year-old Asian man? Its accuracy plummets. It might miss the signs or worse, flag a benign anomaly as malignant, because the patterns don't fit the world it was trained on. The very tool designed to eliminate human error has just inherited our most insidious human flaw: systemic bias. A recent study found that a widely used algorithm to predict which patients will need extra care dramatically underestimated the health needs of Black patients. Why? Because the bot used healthcare cost as a proxy for health needs. But historically, less money is spent on Black patients, even when they have the same level of illness. The bot didn't see sick people, it saw dollar signs. And so, it concluded that Black patients were healthier than they actually were, systematically locking them out of programs designed to help the sickest people. It was a perfect, vicious, automated loop of inequality. So how do you debug this? The first step is acknowledging the problem. Hospitals and tech companies are now scrambling to build more diverse and representative datasets. They're actively seeking out medical data from minority communities, from different age groups from around the world to retrain these algorithms from the ground up. The second step is demanding transparency. A doctor shouldn't just be told, "The AI says this patient is high risk." They need to know why. This is a field called explainable AI, or XAI. The bot has to show its work. It might say, "I flagged this patient as high risk because of the shadow on their left lung, their family history of emphysema, and their elevated white blood cell count." This allows the human doctor to remain the ultimate authority, using the AI as an incredibly powerful consultant, not an infallible oracle. Keeps the human in the loop. This is the painstaking process of debugging our medical system. It's slow, it's expensive, and it's forcing us to confront uncomfortable truths about our own biases. But the stakes are literally life and death. Now, if a bot can misdiagnose a human life, what happens when it misdiagnoses the health of the entire American economy? Welcome to Wall Street. Forget the images of traders in colorful jackets screaming in a pit. The modern trading floor is silent. It's a room full of servers, cooled to a precise temperature, humming with the flow of unimaginable amounts of data. The real traders are the bots. High-frequency trading, or HFT, algorithms that can execute millions of orders in the time it takes you to blink. They aren't just faster than humans. They are operating on a completely different plane of existence. They analyze market sentiment by scraping news articles and social media posts in microseconds. They detect minute price fluctuations across global markets and execute trades to exploit those differences before a human brain could even process the information. These bots now account for over half of all stock trading in the United States. They are the market. They are the invisible hands that move trillions of dollars around the globe every single day. For years, this system worked with terrifying efficiency. The bots made their creators fabulously wealthy. They provided liquidity to the market, making it easier for you and me to buy and sell stocks in our 401(k)s. They were the ultimate expression of rational, data-driven capitalism, until they weren't. May 6, 2010. It was a clear Thursday afternoon. The market was a little shaky, concerned about the Greek debt crisis, but nothing seemed out of the ordinary. Then, at 2:42 p.m., something snapped. A single large sell order, later found to be for about $4.1 billion, was placed by a mutual fund using an automated algorithm. This wasn't an unusual order in itself, but the bot was programmed to execute it based on trading volume, not a set price or time. On this particular afternoon, that one instruction was a spark in a warehouse full of gunpowder. The sell order was so large it started to suck up all the available buyers. Other HFT bots, programmed to detect large selling pressure, saw this and immediately began selling too, trying to get ahead of the drop. Their selling triggered other bots, and their selling triggered others. A cascade began, a digital stampede. Within seconds, buy orders across the market simply vanished. The bots, programmed for a world of normal liquidity, found themselves in a vacuum, and they panicked. In the next 5 minutes, the Dow Jones Industrial Average plunged nearly 1,000 points, its biggest intraday point drop in history. Nearly $1 trillion in value was wiped out. Stocks of $100 billion companies like Accenture were trading for a penny. Apple, one of the most stable companies in the world, dropped to $100 a share, then shot back up to $200, all within seconds. It was complete and utter chaos, orchestrated by silicon and fiber optics. No one knew what was happening. Human traders watched their screens in horror, as the entire financial system seemed to be committing suicide. And then, just as suddenly as it began, it stopped. A circuit breaker kicked in, pausing trading on certain stocks for 5 seconds. That tiny pause was just enough time for the algorithms to reset, for some human logic to seep back into the system. The market snapped back, recovering most of its losses by the end of the day. The event was dubbed the flash crash. For 20 minutes, the keys to the global economy had not been in the hands of the Federal Reserve or the titans of Wall Street. They were in the hands of warring algorithms, blindly executing flawed code at the speed of light. The crash exposed the terrifying fragility of our automated financial world. These bots weren't evil. They were just doing what they were told, optimized for speed above all else. They had no common sense, no intuition, no ability to step back and say, "Wait, this seems insane." They were a perfect reflection of a system that prized short-term profit over long-term stability. The debugging process here involved installing new circuit breakers and market controls, forcing these systems to have off-ramps and kill switches. But it was a reactive fix, a patch on a system whose fundamental complexity we no longer fully understand. From the quiet hospital ward to the roaring silence of the stock exchange, the story is the same. We are building bots that are faster, more efficient, and in many ways more capable than we are. But we are also embedding our own blind spots, our own greed, and our own historic inequalities into their core logic. We are teaching them our worst habits at light speed. We fixed the glitch that caused the flash crash, and we're working to fix the bias in medical AI. But these are just two industries. What about the bots deciding who gets a home loan? The ones screening your job application? The ones that recommend prison sentences? These systems are already in place, operating largely in the dark, making thousands of decisions about our lives every single day. And the most terrifying part isn't just that they might be flawed, it's that we might not even know it until it's too late. For one company, it was already too late. The date was August 1, 2012. On the floor of the New York Stock Exchange, the opening bell was just another signal for another day of high-speed, high-stakes trading. At the heart of this digital maelstrom was a company called Knight Capital Group. They were a titan, one of the largest market makers in the US, responsible for executing billions of dollars in trades every single day. Their power came from their speed, their efficiency, and their sophisticated trading algorithms. That morning, they rolled out a software update, a routine procedure, but buried deep within the millions of lines of code was a single catastrophic error. An old piece of test code, a relic that was supposed to be disabled, had been accidentally reactivated. At 9:30 a.m., the market opened, and all hell broke loose. Knight Capital's new system, this supposedly brilliant automation bot, went rogue. It began executing a torrent of erroneous orders, flooding the market with phantom trades. It was buying stocks at their highest asking price and then immediately selling them at their lowest bid price. It was financial suicide performed at the speed of light. On the trading floor, a wave of confusion turned to sheer panic. Traders stared at their screens, watching in disbelief as their systems lit up with impossible orders for companies they weren't even supposed to be trading. They tried to shut it down. They hit the kill switches, but the bot wouldn't die. It was a digital beast, unleashed and uncontrollable, hemorrhaging the company's cash at a rate of $10 million per minute. For 45 agonizing minutes, the algorithm bled the company dry. By the time they finally managed to pull the plug, the damage was done. Knight Capital Group had lost $440 million. A 4-decade-old firm was pushed to the absolute brink of bankruptcy in less time than it takes to watch a sitcom. This wasn't a hypothetical risk. It was a real-world disaster, a stark warning of what happens when our automated systems fail. And the scariest part is the same potential for catastrophic failure exists in nearly every industry that automation is touching. Think about healthcare. We're developing AI that can read medical scans, X-rays, MRIs, CT scans, with a level of accuracy that can sometimes surpass human radiologists. This is an incredible breakthrough. It promises to catch diseases earlier and save lives. But what was that AI trained on? If the dataset of scans used to teach the machine primarily came from one demographic group, the algorithm can develop a hidden, implicit bias. It might be brilliant at spotting a tumor in a 50-year-old white male, but dangerously less effective for a 30-year-old black female or a 65-year-old Asian man. The bot isn't malicious. It doesn't have a prejudiced bone in its body because it has no bones. It's simply reflecting the biases of the data it was fed. A patient could receive a fatal misdiagnosis not because of a doctor's error, but because of a statistical blind spot in an algorithm, a ghost in the code that nobody even knew was there. And unlike a stock price, you can't get a bailout for a human life. Or consider transportation, the great frontier of automation with self-driving cars. The promise is a world with fewer accidents, less traffic, and more freedom. But every single one of these vehicles is a rolling ethical dilemma. The car's AI is constantly making thousands of calculations per second. But what happens when there's no good outcome? The classic trolley problem is no longer a thought experiment. It's a programming challenge. A child runs into the road. The car can swerve to avoid the child, but doing so would mean hitting an elderly couple on the sidewalk. Or it could swerve the other way, into a wall, almost certainly harming or killing its own passenger. Who makes that decision? A programmer in Silicon Valley? A committee at the car company? What values are they encoding into that split-second life or death choice? Is the passenger's life always paramount? Is the child's? Is it a simple calculation of the number of lives saved? And when the inevitable accident happens, and the car's decision-making process is locked away in a proprietary black box, who is truly to blame? We're putting machines in control of situations that even humans, with our capacity for moral reasoning, struggle with. And we're asking them to solve it with ones and zeros. This complexity extends to the very backbone of our economy, the supply chain. Companies like Amazon have built empires on the back of automation. Their fulfillment centers are a marvel of robotic efficiency, where thousands of bots scurry across vast floors, retrieving and sorting products with hypnotic precision. The entire system is managed by a central AI, a master logistics brain that optimizes every step of the process. But what happens if that central brain gets a migraine? A small bug, a bit of corrupted data, could cause a cascading failure. A routing error could send thousands of bots to the wrong side of the warehouse, creating a robotic traffic jam that halts operations for hours. Or it could misinterpret demand data, sending all the toilet paper to Idaho and all the baby formula to Florida. On a small scale, it's an inconvenience. On a national scale, a sophisticated attack or a significant glitch in the logistics algorithms that now run our ports, our trucking routes, and our warehouses could grind the flow of goods to a halt. It could mean empty grocery store shelves, silent factories, and a level of economic disruption that makes the night capital fiasco look like a rounding error. The fundamental problem we're facing is not just that bots can make mistakes. It's that we are building systems of such immense complexity that no single human being can fully understand them. They exhibit what engineers call emergent behavior, actions and outcomes that were not explicitly programmed, but arise from the complex interaction of thousands of smaller rules. The system takes on a life of its own. We've become masters at building these digital golems, but we are still apprentices at controlling them. We're creating black boxes, feeding them data, and trusting the answers that come out the other side without always being able to explain the why behind them. And as our trust in these systems grows, our own oversight begins to wither. We move from having a human in the loop, actively making decisions, to a human on the loop, passively monitoring, to eventually a human out of the loop altogether. We defer to the algorithm because it's faster, it's more efficient, and most of the time it's right. But that creates a terrifying vulnerability. By the time we realize the bot has made a mistake, it has already made that same mistake a million times over, at a speed we can't possibly match. We are building a world that operates at machine speed, but our ability to respond, to correct, to even comprehend, is still stuck at human speed. So when these systems inevitably fail, when a trading bot crashes the market, a medical AI misdiagnoses a patient, or a self-driving car makes a fatal choice, we are left with a profound and deeply unsettling question. In a world run by automation, who is ultimately responsible? When an algorithm is the cause of a disaster, who do you put on trial? The programmer who wrote the initial code? The CEO of the company that deployed it? The user who agreed to the terms and conditions? Or is it possible that we are creating a new kind of catastrophe, one where there is no one and nothing to hold accountable at all? This question of accountability isn't some far-off science fiction dilemma. It's a legal and ethical black hole that we are staring into right now. For centuries, our entire system of justice has been built on a simple premise. When harm is done, someone is responsible. Person, a company, an entity. But the automation bot shatters that premise. It introduces a ghost in the machine, a decision maker with no consciousness, no assets, and no remorse. When an autonomous trading algorithm triggers a flash crash, wiping out billions in retirement savings in minutes, who pays the price? The programmers who wrote millions of lines of code, each contributing a tiny, seemingly innocent piece to a chaotic puzzle? The investment firm that deployed it, who will claim the bot was operating within its predefined parameters, even if those parameters led to an unforeseen catastrophic outcome? We are entering an age of plausible deniability by design. A company can create a complex, self-learning system, unleash it upon the world, and when it inevitably causes harm, they can simply hold up their hands and say, "The algorithm did it." It becomes the ultimate corporate shield, a scapegoat made of pure data that cannot be deposed, cannot be cross-examined, and cannot be held liable. Legal experts are scrambling, trying to stretch old laws to fit this new reality. They're debating concepts like electronic personhood, or trying to apply product liability standards, treating a piece of code like a faulty toaster. But it's not a toaster. A toaster doesn't learn. It doesn't adapt. It doesn't rewrite its own operational logic based on new data inputs in ways its own creators can no longer fully comprehend. This isn't a product defect. It's the emergence of autonomous agency without accountability, and our 18th century legal frameworks are hopelessly outgunned. But this crisis of accountability isn't just about spectacular failures. It's also about the quiet, systematic erosion of professional judgment in industries we once considered immune to the march of automation. For years, the narrative was that the bots were coming for the blue-collar jobs, the repetitive, manual tasks on the assembly line or in the warehouse. The message to the American worker was clear. Get an education, move into a skilled, white-collar profession, and you'll be safe. That promise has proven to be a lie. The automation bot isn't just strong. It's smart. And it's coming for the corner office. Take the legal profession. For decades, the grunt work of major lawsuits, the process of discovery, involved armies of young paralegals and junior associates sitting in rooms for months, sometimes years, sifting through millions of pages of documents, looking for the one single email, the one key phrase that could make or break a case. It was a rite of passage, a costly and time-consuming human endeavor. Today, an AI-powered e-discovery platform can do that same job in a matter of hours. It can analyze petabytes of data, understand context, identify patterns, and flag relevant documents with a level of accuracy and speed that no human team could ever hope to match. It doesn't get tired, it doesn't get bored, and it doesn't miss a crucial detail because it was thinking about lunch. The result? Law firms can now handle massive cases with a skeleton crew. It's a miracle of efficiency for the firm, but a death knell for the traditional career path of a young lawyer. The very jobs that were meant to be the training ground for the next generation of legal minds are being vaporized by the bot. Or consider medicine, perhaps the most human of all professions. We put our trust and our lives in the hands of doctors with years of training and experience. But what is much of that experience, really? It's pattern recognition. A radiologist looks at thousands of X-rays and MRI scans, learning to spot the subtle shadow that signifies a tumor, the faint anomaly that points to disease. An AI can be trained on a dataset of hundreds of millions of scans, drawn from hospitals all over the world. It can see patterns invisible to the human eye. It can cross-reference a patient's scan with their genetic history and blood work in a nanosecond. In study after study, these diagnostic AIs are already outperforming human radiologists in detecting certain types of cancers earlier and more accurately. On the surface, this is a phenomenal breakthrough. Who wouldn't want a more accurate diagnosis? But it fundamentally changes the role of the doctor. The physician risks becoming a mere supervisor to the algorithm, a human interface to explain the bot's decision to the patient. And the question of liability returns with a vengeance. If the AI misses a tumor and a patient dies, is the doctor at fault for trusting their superior digital colleague? Or is the hospital liable? Or the software company 1,000 miles away that has since updated the algorithm a dozen times? The bot provides a better result right up until it makes a mistake. And when it does, it leaves a trail of human devastation with no one to hold responsible. Nowhere is this shift more dramatic and more dangerous than in the world of finance. Wall Street is no longer a place of shouting traders in colorful jackets. The real action happens in silent, refrigerated server farms in New Jersey, where algorithms execute millions of trades in the time it takes you to blink. These are not simple if-then commands. They are complex learning systems that analyze news reports, social media sentiment, economic indicators, and the behavior of other bots to make predictive bets on the market. They are designed for one purpose: to exploit microscopic inefficiencies in the market for profit, faster than any human can think. This has created a financial ecosystem of breathtaking speed and fragility, an arms race where rival AIs battle each other for microseconds of advantage. We saw the consequences in the flash crash of 2010, when the market inexplicably plunged nearly 1,000 points in minutes, only to recover just as quickly. It took investigators months to piece together what happened. A cascade of automated sell orders, triggered by one algorithm, that created a feedback loop, spooking other bots into selling, creating a digital panic that threatened to vaporize trillions of dollars of wealth. Human traders could only watch, helpless, as the machines fought a war of their own making. What we are witnessing is the deconstruction of the professional class. The core value proposition of a lawyer, a doctor, a financial analyst, their specialized knowledge and judgment, is being commoditized by software. The argument has always been that these jobs require a human touch, empathy, critical thinking, and creativity. But we are being forced to confront a difficult truth. A huge portion of what we call professional work is actually just high-level pattern recognition and data processing. And machines are simply better at that than we are. The bot doesn't need a law degree to review a contract. It needs a massive dataset of past contracts. It doesn't need to go to medical school to read a scan. It needs a library of millions of other scans. The brutal efficiency of the market is discovering that it can purchase the outcome of professional expertise without having to pay for the expensive, inefficient, and inconsistent human that produces it. This isn't a future threat. This is the reality in America's most prestigious and powerful industries today. The bot is already in the courtroom, the operating room, and the trading floor. It's working silently, efficiently, and relentlessly. And it's forcing us to ask a terrifyingly fundamental question. If the jobs that require our bodies are being done by robots, and the jobs that require our minds are being done by bots, what then is left for us? What is the purpose of human endeavor when a machine can do it better, faster, and cheaper? We have spent a century building a society on the foundation of specialized human skill. But what happens when that foundation cracks? What happens when the last uniquely human skill is no longer unique at all? The answer, unsettling as it is that the foundation doesn't just crack. It shatters. And in its place, we are forced to build something entirely new. This isn't a distant science fiction future. This is the great challenge of our generation. We are living through the single greatest economic and social transition since the Industrial Revolution. And just like that revolution, it will be messy, it will be disruptive, and it will spare no one. The fear is real. The fear of being replaced, of being made obsolete, is a primal human fear. We see headlines about millions of jobs being automated away, and we imagine a future of widespread unemployment, of breadlines run by algorithms, of a society split into two castes, the tiny minority who own the bots and the vast majority who are rendered economically useless. This dystopian vision is a very real possibility. If we do nothing, if we simply let this technological tsunami wash over us without a plan, the consequences could be catastrophic. We could see social unrest on a scale we've never imagined. When millions of people lose not just their income, but their sense of purpose, their identity, the very structure of their lives, society becomes dangerously unstable. For generations, we've defined ourselves by what we do. What do you do for a living? Is the first question we ask a stranger. What happens when, for a huge portion of the population, the answer is nothing? This is the precipice we're standing on. It's a future where efficiency is king, but humanity is a cost to be minimized. It's a world optimized for production, but not for people. But that is only one possible future. It is not the one that is written in stone. Because for every fear, there is an incredible, almost utopian opportunity. Think about it. What if we could automate away not just the repetitive, boring jobs, but the dangerous ones? The coal miner, the deep-sea welder, the soldier on the front lines. What if we could eliminate human error from surgery, from transportation, from critical infrastructure, saving countless lives? What if, for the first time in human history, we could decouple survival from labor? This is the other side of the coin. A future where automation doesn't replace humans, but liberates them. A world where machines handle the drudgery of existence, the production, the logistics, the calculations, freeing up humanity to focus on what we, and only we, can do, to create, to discover, to connect, to care. Imagine a new renaissance, powered not by the rediscovery of ancient texts, but by the unleashing of billions of minds from the necessity of monotonous work. Imagine a world where a parent can spend more time raising their child, where an artist can create without starving, where a scientist can pursue knowledge for its own sake, not just for a corporate grant. This isn't a fantasy, it's a tangible possibility. The immense wealth and productivity generated by a fully automated economy could, in theory, provide a high standard of living for everyone. Concepts that sound radical today, like universal basic income or a 4-day, or even 3-day work week, become not just possible, but logical necessities in a world where there simply isn't enough traditional work to go around. The goal shifts from keeping people busy to enabling people to live fulfilling lives. So how do we get there? How do we navigate from the precipice of dystopia to the shores of this new world? The answer lies in a radical rethinking of two fundamental pillars of our society: education and value. Our current education system is a relic of the industrial age. It was designed to produce compliant factory workers. Sit in straight rows, follow instructions, memorize facts, and specialize in a single skill. This model is dangerously obsolete. It is training our children to compete directly with the very machines designed to beat them. Memorization is pointless when you have a supercomputer in your pocket. Specialization in a single, repeatable skill is a career death sentence. The new model of education must be built on a foundation of uniquely human skills. Not what to think, but how to think. It must prioritize critical thinking, complex problem-solving, creativity, emotional intelligence, collaboration, and adaptability. We need to teach our kids how to learn, unlearn, and relearn continuously for their entire lives. The most valuable skill of the 21st century won't be coding or data analysis. Bots will do that better than any human. The most valuable skill will be the ability to adapt to constant, radical change. We need to shift from a system of just-in-case learning, cramming knowledge in case you need it one day, to a system of just-in-time learning, where people can acquire new skills and knowledge as they need them throughout their careers. Lifelong learning can't just be a buzzword. It has to become the central organizing principle of our workforce. And that brings us to the second, even bigger shift: how we define human value. For centuries, our value as individuals has been inextricably linked to our economic output. Your worth is your salary. Your contribution is your job title. This is the mindset that automation shatters. If a bot can do your job for a fraction of the cost, does that mean you have no value? Of course not. It means we've been using the wrong metric all along. We have to start measuring and rewarding the things that machines can't do. What is the economic value of a caregiver who provides comfort to the elderly? What is the value of a community organizer who brings people together? What is the value of an artist who challenges our perspective, or a mentor who inspires a child? Right now, our economy assigns very little monetary value to these roles. But in a world rich with automated production and poor in human connection, these roles become the most essential of all. Empathy, compassion, community building, mentorship. These are the new essential services. This is the work that rebuilds the social fabric that automation, in its relentless pursuit of efficiency, can so easily tear apart. We need to create economic systems that reward this kind of work. Whether it's through government programs, nonprofits, or new corporate structures, we must find a way to pay people to be better humans, not less efficient machines. This is not a problem for some future president or CEO to solve. This is a conversation that needs to happen at every dinner table, in every classroom, and in every community in America. It requires us to be active participants, not passive observers. On an individual level, it means committing to being a lifelong learner. It means cultivating your uniquely human skills, your communication, your creativity, your ability to collaborate. Don't try to outcalculate the calculator. Be more human. On a societal level, it means demanding that our leaders and institutions take this transition seriously. We need bold experiments in education, new models for social safety nets, and a national dialogue about the kind of future we actually want to build. The rise of the automation bot is not a simple story of technology. It is a story about us. It holds up a mirror and forces us to ask the most fundamental questions. What are people for? What is the purpose of a society? Is it simply to maximize gross domestic product? Or is it to maximize human well-being and potential? The technology itself is neutral. An automation bot can be used to build a weapon of war or a life-saving medical device. It can be used to create unimaginable wealth for a select few, or to liberate all of humanity from poverty and toil. The choice is ours. The tools for building a better world are being delivered to our doorstep, but they don't come with an instruction manual. We have to write it ourselves. The robots aren't coming for our jobs. They are coming for our assumptions. And the ultimate question isn't whether humanity will survive the rise of the bots, but which version of humanity we will choose to become.